Chapter 5 Batuu Cal's point of view. "Sit down, kid, we're getting ready to land," says Grease. I sit down in the front with him and watch as we make our way down to Batuu. "You sure these coordinates are correct?" says Grease. "Seems like a woodsy place to have an outpost." "From what I've heard, it's actually one of the more safer ones. Hardly anyone comes out here," Obi-Wan adds. "However, we shouldn't get too comfortable and stay alert." Once we landed, I took my poncho out and handed it over to Annika. "Maybe you should wear one of those Jedi robes," says Grease. "That'll make me just stick out even more. The last thing I want is to attract attention," I reply. "Well, so far, you've done a poor job of laying low." "Hey, Grease, I hear this planet has monster-sized creatures," Annika teases. "What? You're joking, right?" "Oh my gosh, it's in front of you! Look out!" she teases again. Grease practically fell out of his seat, hiding in fear. I couldn't help but laugh along with Annika. "Oh, very funny, you two," Grease replies sassily. "Lighten up, Grease. Try to take a joke," I reply. "We better move. We're gonna lose daybreak," says Obi-Wan. The marketplace was pretty impressive, compared to most I've seen across the galaxy. Merchants shouted various things to grab buyers, but some were a bit more quiet than others. "Mind if we stop for some food? I'm starving," Grease complained. "Not in the mood for solo clawfish, Grease?" Annika jokes. "Blah, no way. Whoever thought that was a good idea for food clearly had no taste." "Come on, I see a restaurant up ahead," I replied. Once we walked into the restaurant, a droid walked up to us, guiding us to our table. When it walked away, I noticed a tablet on the corner of our table and tapped it. "Welcome to Docking Bay 7. How may we serve you today?" "Well, everyone know what they want yet?" I began. "Yep," everyone replied simultaneously. I chuckled lightly and began to place everyone's order. "Wow, these are the best smoked Batuu ribs I've had by far," Grease exclaims. "I thought yours were the best," I replied. "They've added something to the sauce. I gotta figure out how to make it," he replied. Everyone chuckled lightly and continued eating. From the corner of my eye, I could have sworn someone was staring, but when I looked, there was no one there. Once we finished our food, one of the chefs walked over to our table and served us dessert. "Oh, we didn't order that," says Annika. "It's okay. Someone else got it for you," the chef replied. "Who, if you don't mind me asking?" says Obi-Wan. "Don't know. One minute they were there, the next they were gone. Anyway, enjoy." So someone was watching us, I thought to myself. "What is this?" says Grease. "I believe it's called an oi oi puff," Marin chimes in. "How do you know that?" says Grease. "It's on the menu? There's this thing called reading?" I silently chuckled at Marin's remark. I decided to split the dessert with Annika. That is, until she started devouring the whole thing. I caught her trying to sneak my plate away, but I used the force to swipe her spork away and started eating mine. "No fair. I hardly know how to use that ability yet," Annika whines. She sat back in defeat and already had that pouted look on her face. "Aw, don't be like that. I'll buy you something," I replied. "Okay, if you insist." "It's not like I had any other option," I muttered. "What was that, Cal?" "Nothing. Absolutely nothing." After lunch, Obi-Wan decided to book a couple of rooms for us at the hotel. Meanwhile, Annika and I decided to go shopping in the marketplace. Maybe find some clues while we're here. It was a bit overwhelming considering how many shops were around, but one caught my attention, as well as Annika's. Doc Ondor's Den of Antiquities. Once we walked in, I noticed it was slightly cramped, but filled with all kinds of ancient artifacts, clothing, accessories, art, and even weapons. Annika and I went over to the display box and noticed all kinds of weapons encased inside, including lightsaber parts. "Find anything interesting?" says a Nithorian merchant. "These are real lightsabers, you know. The only difference is that the Kyber crystals are an additional cost." "I don't know how lightsabers work. It just looked like a cool piece to hang," Annika lied. "In that case, I'll make you a deal here. Buy any lightsaber you want, and I'll lower the price to, say, 800 credits. "Whoa, I don't think I have that much on me, but thanks anyway, Annika adds. Okay, I'll go lower, the merchant pleads. The thing is, though, these are authentic. Well, how about pieces? Like a saber you can just build from scratch? Oh, now that is a deal. You get everything for the price of 400, he replies. Pretty high, I begin. Come on, Annika. Let's go somewhere else. I'll lower it to 300. This merchant was slowly starting to get on my nerves, so I did the one thing I know I could do best. I'll use a Jedi mind trick on him. 20 credits is my price, I replied, slowly waving my hand. 20 credits is my price, the merchant repeats. I quickly paid the merchant and grabbed a bag for Annika to hold her stuff. We quickly walked out of the store before anyone noticed. Consider this a small wedding gift, I began. I glanced at Annika and gently pulled her close. I could feel her trembling ever so slightly, which had me a bit concerned. Someone's following us, she whispered. I slowly turned my head and noticed a figure in a cloak standing by one of the shops. Annika and I slowly walked down the stairs, trying to grab the figure's attention. So far, it was working. I quickly pulled Annika to a corner, awaiting for them to notice. They did, surprisingly, and sauntered over to us slowly. They cautiously pulled out a note, handing it to me. As I hesitantly took the note, the person under the cloak left without saying a word. Was it possible that could have been one of the partisans? Time skip. Took you long enough, Grease begins as we enter the hotel lobby. We got a bit sidetracked, I replied. I don't want to know. Anyway, here's your room key. I'm heading off to bed. It seemed almost everyone scattered out of the room, except Obi-Wan. I knew he could tell something was off. Let's talk, he begins. Once we got to his room, I told him everything that happened, including the sketchy note that the cloaked figure left us. Let's see what it says, he begins. I slowly opened the note and read it out loud. Meet me at the cantina tomorrow. Come alone. I don't like that at all. There's no way you're going alone, Annika protests. As skeptical as this is, I have to find out, Annika, one way or another. This may be the rebels the Queen was talking about, I implied. So you getting into even more danger is worth that risk? Annika, please just listen, I argue. I'm going to bed. I sigh in frustration as she slams the door. I do have to agree with her, Obi-Wan begins. However, I don't think this plan will work if we come along, which is why I will be in the shadows looking out for you. Who's going to save you if they figure it out? I reply. Worry about yourself first. Now, if I were you, I'd get some rest. Time skip. Annika's point of view. As I stared outside the window, I could hear the door close, which meant Cal was now inside the room. I could feel his arms wrap around my torso, pulling me close to his body. I took a deep breath and slowly turned around to face him. Cal, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get snippy. What's really worrying you, Annika? I can tell something's on your mind, he begins. I tried looking away, but I felt his fingers lift my chin back up. I sighed in defeat and finally caved in. I've been having visions, I began. Some of my parents, others about you. Bad? He replies. Yes. The day before the Inquisitor found me, I had a vision of my parents warning me. They kept saying I was about to be in grave danger. Sure enough, I was thrown into it. But now I feel that fear growing more and more, especially since my last one. Annika, nothing bad is going to happen to me. Cal, how can you be sure? The Empire's hunting you down like a womp rat. They're after you too, Annika. They already know I have a weakness. I'd rather something happen to me than you. But that doesn't mean I'm going to die. I won't surrender to the Empire, or the Emperor. I know. You're stronger than that, I reply. I just wish things were different. I hate that we're constantly on the run. Annika, I'm done hiding. I have been for a while. We've experienced things no one our age should. I want to fight for what's right, even if it means a brighter future will not only open for us, but for others as well. It was times like this where I really began to admire Cal's heroism. He was so passionate about saving the galaxy and restoring balance. Any other Jedi probably wouldn't have gone the lengths he has. Either that, or they succumb to the dark side. I promise, I will support you every step of the way on this journey, Cal. Just come back safely, okay? I will. I swear it. End of Chapter 5.